welcome to a new season of American Heathen Redux. I'm R.J. Evans. Patriotism is your conviction that this country is superior to all others because you were born in it. That's a quote from George Bernard Shaw. I was born 63 years ago in the United States of America, better known today as the divided states of Trumpganistan. I didn't ask to be born here. I had no choice in the matter because I didn't exist. Like everyone else on the planet, I'm the product of a naturally violent physical process that occurred within the artificial boundaries of a parcel of land within a continent on the third planet from the sun. I'm the result of a thrust-seeding phallus into a reservoir of existential doom. Most of the one half of my potential for existence was murdered in utero, while a few invaders survived long enough to penetrate deep into fallopian tube territory and fertilize the other half of me, an unsuspecting egg. When the timer sounded off 9 months later on the easy bake oven known more commonly as a mother's womb, I was forced out of my comfortable singles apartment into a group home for the criminally insane, also known as Planet Earth. Blinded by a sudden blast of light, I cried out as the doc slapped an American flag on my ass and declared me to be a patriot. And God damn it, this was America. I could either love it or I could leave it. Famous words. You know, it was 1970 when country singer Ernest Tubb coined that phrase. It's America, love it or leave it. I was 9 years old at the time. Tubb sang his anger-filled rant, "Well, I'm getting mighty tired of seeing hippies run wild and burning down the schools and stepping on the flag." A white man refrained for basically anyone who expressed their dissent for the Vietnam War. Meanwhile, I watched the blood-soaked slaughter on the evening news, oblivious to the diabolical mechanisms of death and the putrid political posturing behind the devastation. I was caught between the free-love hippie culture, wearing my really cool fringe leather jacket, and my required subordination to the sound of crew cut shears as my father attempted to discipline me into conservative submission. You know, Jacob Rosenberg of MotherJones.com once wrote, "For years, white Americans have been telling those who demanded reform but did not conform to their ideal of whiteness to simply leave." Tubbs' song was an echo of a long-time chant that resurged during the Vietnam War era, targeting hippies, though applied to any other who dissented. He wasn't alone. "You're walking on the fighting side of me," or Merle Haggard sang around the same time. "If you don't love it, leave it." It was the stiff-backed moan of white men unmoored by all his desires for change. All wars are fuel for patriotism, and patriotism is fuel for all wars. It's sanitized, tribalistic wholesale slaughter. Aldous Huxley once said, "One of the great attractions of patriotism, it fulfills our worst wishes. In the person of our nation, we are able vicariously to bully and cheat. Bully and cheat. What's more, with a feeling that we are profoundly virtuous." I would add, and torture, maim, and kill. Bertrand Russell wrote, "Patriotism is the willingness to kill and be killed for trivial reasons." You know, is patriotism nationalism? Is nationalism patriotism? The word patriotism has been around longer. Nationalism is fairly new, really. But for the sake of argument, they both are equal opportunity killers and best friends of fascist idiots. George Bernard Shaw wrote, "Patriotism is a pernicious psychopathic form of idiocy, and nationalism must now be added to the refuse pile of superstitions. We are now citizens of the world, and the man who divides the race into elect Irishmen and reprobate foreign devils, especially Englishmen, had better live on the Blaskets, where he can admire himself without disturbance." For those of you that want to know, the Blaskets being an uninhabited group of islands off the west coast of Dingle Peninsula in County Kerry, Ireland. You know, it's easy to argue that patriotism isn't nationalism, or vice versa. But neither is noble and virtuous, in my opinion. To love your country shouldn't require demonstrable trope or or hollow spoken words like oaths or pledges of allegiance. Moreover, what is it that anyone loves about their forced birth country? Each to his or own, right? Of course. The words, I love my country, are dependent on the individual's definition of the concept of the word love. Unfortunately, love of country always seems to translate to, conceit and pompous, pernicious, patriotic puke. Filling body bags with patriots whose only real care was to stay alive long enough to love again. You know, I'm always suspicious of patriotism. It's been called the last refuge of the scoundrel, at least by Samuel Johnson, but today it's come to be worse than that. Patriotism has come to mean stuffing a flag in your mouth anytime you see the difference between your country doing right in your name and doing wrong. My country, right or wrong, which was a slogan of Stephen Decatur, was always closed-minded, insular, and anti-democratic. Instead, as German-American statesman Karl Schulz said, my country, right or wrong, if right, to be kept right, and if wrong, to be set right. That's a better brand of patriotism, don't you think? Until next time, remember, hypocrisy always reveals the lies. Peace.